Because I wanted to talk to you about Israel. These Zionist pigs who are bombing Gaza, Lebanon, Iran, Syria, all this in 48 hours or so. I think that they did about four of these countries in a 24-hour period. So all of this unprovoked, of course, they're saying that they were planning on doing something, so this was a preemptive self-defense. In my book, preemptive self-defense is not self-defense. That's what the word offense is for. And it's quite offensive, in my opinion. Because they're not just defending themselves. At least if right now is anything like historically has been, like every single time they make shit up. Netanyahu is a liar time and time again, always saying that there's weapons of mass destruction and wanting to attack Iran. He had the red line. He's just always trying to attack Iran. And I'm not saying they're not enemies. What I'm saying is Iran hasn't attacked anybody. So to preemptively do anything is absurd unless you can provide proof that they're actually planning something. And the evidence that they tried to put forth was like some 1970s video camera footage from a zoom lens that's all fuzzed out and of saying, oh look, that guy's carrying a drone. That guy could have been carrying a briefcase and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference because it's so muddy. So what are they doing? Just that, they're muddying the water. Because that's what they've been doing for I don't know how long now. But lying time and time again to try and get America to go to war with Iran. That used to be the end game. Now it seems to be a precursor to the end game being China. The Project for the New American Century, a think tank in Washington in 1996 through 2002 or 3, said that they wanted to invade roughly 7 countries in 5 years. 7 countries in 5 years. I'm quoting General Wesley Clark, who said that that's what he was told in 2001, just weeks after, like 2 or 3 weeks after 9/11. And there's a couple different interviews with him where he talks about it on YouTube. If you look for 7 countries, 5 years, you'll find it. But they planned on invading Iraq and Sudan and Libya and Syria and Lebanon, which hasn't happened yet. One of the few, Somalia, and ending up with Iran. And I'm quoting, ending up with Iran. So Iran is on the chopping block. And this was planned before 2001. Mind you, we invaded Iraq in 2003. And when they were saying, oh, we've got weapons of mass, it was all big fabrication. They already had the plans to go invade it 2 years prior or 3 years prior, if not more. That's just when they published the paper saying that they wanted to do that. They did all this stuff, but they knew that they couldn't invade all these countries without a good precursor. Why would we be able to invade the entire Middle East? And why would the American people be okay with investing all of this money in a military buildup? They said, and I quote, a new Pearl Harbor will be required. 1 year to the month before 9/11. If that's not suspicious to you, then you haven't read up on what PNAC stands for as far as what they were writing about, what they wanted. Like I said, those 7 countries in 5 years was part of the big picture. The bigger picture, and they published this as well, is global hegemony, meaning rule the world, and not just a little bit. They said full spectrum dominance, meaning space, cyberspace, military, everything, rule the world. And that it would require, rightfully they said this is true, of course, it would require bringing down China, because they're going to be the next superpower if we don't bring them down. And Russia's just in the path, you know, like we're taking on China and Russia to try and preserve our dominance in the world and continue it. But we're doing that at the expense of possibly life on Earth, actually. I know it sounds really hyperbolic, but think about it. If we go into a nuclear war over this, which is kind of likely if we keep trying to overthrow China, or overthrow Iran and China and Russia, we're going to take on all these countries, and you think it won't go nuclear eventually? You know, I don't think it's going to be one button and everything goes. No, we built tactical nukes, you know, small range nukes, kids nukes, you know, for little stuff. So that we know that if we press the small button, global annihilation won't quite be immediate. So maybe it's not so bad, right? The weapons industry likes it, so they did it. Now we have medium or short-term or range nuclear weapons. Now, this is just my own personal thing, and you can choose to believe this or not. It's probably very delusional, but I think about what if all these nuclear buildups were built around a big lie. The lie being that there were no nuclear weapons being built up and that every country was in on it. That China and Russia and the United States were in on. That the United States doesn't actually have 7,200 intercontinental ballistic missiles loaded and ready to go. And that Russia doesn't have 7,500 ICBMs ready to go. I don't remember how many China has, but it's not quite as many. But it takes, I don't know, maybe a dozen to absolutely destroy the Earth, in that it would create a nuclear winter that would wipe life out, pretty much life, at least our lives, for sure. So 7,500, 7,200, But what if, just to get money from the fearful citizens, they told us to be afraid so that they could buy more weapons? Well, what if they never actually bought anything? Because it would be end of life if they actually used them, so why? It's just a boogeyman. Maybe it doesn't exist. We know nukes exist, obviously. But maybe this buildup is not true. Maybe there is no button. Maybe there is no connect the dots and it's all over. I choose to believe that somewhere inside me, because there is no way to lose that bet. There's no, oh, I was wrong, they nuked us all and we're all dead. Nope. I can just go, yeah, glad that didn't happen. It's a lot less stressful to think that that might be true. And it might be. I don't really believe it, but it might be true. Think about it, that would be the greatest scam in history. The money that is spent on nuclear arms race, if it was just all going into the pockets of a bunch of criminals, I would be so thankful to those criminals. Instead of like, no, we're gonna destroy the world, you know, 1,000 times over, almost literally. I don't know, it wouldn't be a bad idea, actually. If I was going to be really diabolical, I would choose that before building up a weapon stash, you know, or weapons buildups. What would you do? I hope they're just thieves, because shit is getting real. That's all I got to say about that right now.